a historic agreement between Japan and the Philippines. Tokyo and Manila signed a military pact called the Reciprocal Access Agreement. Among other things, the treaty allows troops from both countries to be stationed on each other's soil. Should China be concerned about Indo-Pacific alliances?
I think the RIA is an important document because it enables the Philippines and Japan now to have a framework for our cooperation in defense and security and other related issues. But what's important is that I think what the RIA has done is that it could serve as a force for stability in the region.
Last year, Japan, South Korea, and the U.S. agreed to forge closer defense partnerships. Tokyo and Seoul have also attended the last 3 NATO summits as clear allies of the U.S. Meanwhile, Manila is strengthening its traditional alliance with Washington while forging new defense ties with Australia. So why are Asia-Pacific countries forming these new security networks?
The more external and systemic explanation behind this, that Chinese assertion and aggression in not only the South China Sea but the East China Sea as well, and its behavior towards small and middle powers like the Philippines and Japan somehow compelled countries to work closer together given their mutuality of interest.
China claims nearly the entire South China Sea and some islands in the East China Sea. Other countries in the region, including the Philippines, Malaysia, and Vietnam, have competing territorial claims. Face-offs between the Chinese Coast Guard and its Philippine counterpart have occurred regularly over the past months. Beijing says it is wary of any alliance building in the region.
China has always been not only skeptical, but has been totally opposed to these ideas. On the one hand, it believes that this constitutes a threat towards Chinese security interests.
亚太地区不需要军事集团，更不需要挑动阵营对抗、鼓动新冷战的小圈子。任何损害本地区和平稳定、破坏本地区团结合作的行径，都将招致地区人民的警惕和共同反对。
Asia has avoided forming multilateral military alliances to rival NATO. Instead, the region's security architecture is built around a hub-and-spoke model in which the U.S. is the main component. But that's beginning to change, according to experts.
Such arrangement somehow narrows or helps narrow, it's still wide, but helps narrow the power asymmetry between China and its neighbors. And therefore, China can't act hegemonically when its neighboring countries, particularly countries it has issues with, particularly in the South China Sea, is able to get external support.
U.S. warships regularly patrol the South China Sea and the Taiwan Strait, and military drills with its regional allies are regularly held. Arogai added Beijing fears the U.S. is encroaching on its ambitions.
For China's narrative, this front is always directed towards them. And they always use the narrative that this is not preserving the stability. But of course, their own version of status quo is the one that they're the only superpower in town, they're the only superpower in the region, and everyone just follows the hierarchy that they've built for the region.
Different groupings have been established explicitly to counter China. AUKUS is formed by Australia, the US, and UK. The Quad was set up by the US, Australia, India, and Japan, and is considering adding the Philippines in a newly named Squad alliance. But does this really signal the dawn of a NATO-style alliance in the Indo-Pacific? Many Southeast Asian countries have ruled out joining military alliances and have criticized the establishment of some defense groupings. Indonesia, for example, pushed back against AUKUS in 2021.
The glaring reality is that as much as China is being seen as a threat to some countries, it has a role to play in the region. And this is why the reciprocal access agreement within Japan and the Philippines is not a mutual defense treaty. It's not as if that Japan will come to the aid of the Philippines like the United States.
Instead of favoring far-reaching multilateral alliances, Asian powers have shown more interest in building smaller-scale defense partnerships. According to Aragai, they're aimed not only at countering China, but also to rely on each other in case of Western disengagement in the region.